Welcome back to another Odd Popcorn for that review. I'm Chris,
I'm Nick.
and this time we're talking about a movie which is having an anniversary right now. So this is Oldboy's 20th anniversary. So there was a U.S. remake, which I think is only about 10 years old, but this is the 20th anniversary of the original Korean film, and this is directed by Park Chan-Wook, and it is the second of his like revenge trilogy, which neither of us have seen the other two, but they're like spiritual trilogy, so that I think they're all just about revenge with different characters. So don't really have to watch them in a particular order if I'm understanding it correctly. But so this is only my second time ever seeing this, but I have seen this before just a long time ago, and it was your first time seeing this version, and you'd seen the American version before. So what did you think about it?
I like it. It's a good movie. It's got some pretty brutal scenes. It is kind of, I wouldn't say ruined. It's just a little kind of like, uh, I'm not. There's like a big reveal at the end of the movie, and when you know what it is, it's kind of like it not as impactful watching it a second time.
Yeah, this is about the most spoiled a movie could be. Like you kind of have to not know what happens at the end. And I was saying before we start recording, for me it still works because I knew what I was gonna get at the end, but this is my first chance to watch it again with that knowledge in mind.
Hmm.
And so I kind of got to look at it with a different lens and pay attention to some different things along the way now that I know that thing. Uh, but I could see this being like, I could see somebody saying like, as great as this movie is, it's a one watch and done because it's never gonna have the impact of that first time again. Like when they first dropped the reveal at the end of the movie, I still remember that seeing that for the first time. Like your jaw's just on the floor. It's about as brutal of a twist ending as you can get.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there were so many little things along the way that I noticed. Like um, there's a well, maybe we should talk a little bit about the general plot is pretty simple, really. It's just a guy. Uh, we meet him when he's very drunk at like a. I think he gets very drunk at like a train station and gets arrested for public drunkenness or public intoxication. And and when he gets bailed out by, I actually don't fully understand the relationship with him and the first guy in the beginning. Do you?
I think they're
I
just
don't know if
like
they're
good
just friends
friends.
or
Yeah, I think they're just good friends that went to high school together and have remained
okay.
friends.
I wasn't sure if they ever really said like I couldn't tell if he was like a relative or just a like a high school like an old friend or
Yeah, I
something.
think
But
he's just his old friend.
so his friend goes and bails him out, and immediately he's like missing. He just got off the phone with his daughter. He's telling her he's gonna make it home with her present. He bought her like a set of like angel wings, and his daughter's it's her fourth birthday, and he just missed her fourth birthday by being drunk and under arrest or whatever. But he goes missing, and then we cut to him being imprisoned in a hotel room, uh, and we get a good long section, maybe like half an hour in the beginning of him in this hotel room and what goes on with him there. So he's being imprisoned by someone, doesn't know who, doesn't know why they're imprisoning him, and so he starts basically like taking inventory of his life and everything he's ever done wrong and everyone he's ever wronged in his life and who this could be that's doing this to him and why. But he also starts. So I don't know if it's every single night, but at least most nights they pipe in this gas. What they say it was like Valium gas.
So yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
I think it's Valium gas, but they pump in this gas that puts him to sleep. And if he has tried to kill himself, which he does often, they'll patch him up and fix him right up, and he's good for the next day. They'll clean the room if he destroys the room, whatever. And so he just eventually turns this into like essentially training for the revenge that he hopes to one day get. So he's punching walls and to the point that his knuckles are all bloody and torn up and everything, and basically
Well,
just training himself to do his revenge. And then there's an interesting thing. So they're also using like hypnotism on him, and at some point it's the end, and he's been there for 15 years altogether, and and at the end they hypnotize him and tell him like this woman comes in, hypnotizes him, and tells him you're gonna wake up and there's gonna be grass to your left and right and whatever she says, So he wakes up in a grassy field in this suitcase and pops out of the suitcase. And one of the first things he does is go to a restaurant and try to eat something that is alive. Am I right? Doesn't he pretty much just go straight to that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, pretty
I
much.
can't think of anything he does between, but that's pretty much the next thing. And that scene is famous for a reason, but he asks for a live octopus and eats a live octopus, and the actor really did in real life. And
It was pretty
actually,
gnarly.
four of them were killed in the making of this movie. And I guess that's like a delicacy in Korea, but like no one does it that way. Like it's live, but then it's like sliced for you.
Yeah,
But he ate the whole thing, and like I said, four of them were killed in the making of this. And the actor that was doing this is Buddhist, so he's having to like say a prayer for each one. As there,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Uh, and it seems like that's kind of almost dangerous, like because it's got suckers all over it. Like it could close off your air, you know,
Just got to chew
like
it real
attach
good.
itself to your feet. Yeah, I guess so. But so he eats this octopus and and he starts to form a relationship with this uh, sushi chef that's in front of this young female sushi chef that's in front of him, and she he passes out there in front of her, which we find out the reason for later. But he passes out there in front of her, and he ends up waking up in her house, and pretty quickly comes onto her like aggressively sexually, and she has not a very American reaction to that. Like she's basically like, "No, like get off me, like not yet. We
Right,
gotta
yeah.
wait. Let me
Well,
get a
there's
little attracted to you first."
a reason for that too, though.
Yeah, there is a reason for that too. But like, if you're watching this movie for the first time, I'm just trying to put myself
Oh
in a
yeah.
mindset of not knowing what's gonna happen, and it's like, yeah, if you're watching this movie for the first time, it's like, man, you'd think that'd get you kicked out of her house.
All right.
uh, but so ultimately, what it goes from him trying to track down his daughter, because while he's I didn't say this, but while he's being imprisoned by whoever this is, um, he does have a TV, and the TV's showing him like what's going on in the world. It's kind of his connection to the world, but also it's showing him what's happening with his life as he's absent from it. And they have not only killed his wife, but framed him for it. Like used his blood to frame him for it. So it looks like to the rest of the world, it looks like he killed his wife and fled the scene, and he's like on the lam somewhere or whatever. And I think this was said in passing. I don't know if I was just like not looking at the bottom of the screen at the right time. But does it say something about like the statute of limitations on his murder of his wife if he had done it was
Y-
expired now?
Yeah, I think he gets like when he's at the sushi restaurant, someone like before he gets in there gives him a cell phone and a wallet, and then it's like, don't ask me anything, I don't know anything, and
Yeah, I don't
then
know anything either. Yeah,
yeah, and that dude leaves, and then I think he gets a phone call and it's from the dude who did it basically, and I think he tells him like, congratulations, today is the day that like your charges have been dropped or
yeah,
something
you're out
like
of
that.
and yeah, and you pretty quickly get the idea that the guy on the phone. I mean, not he is obviously the one that's been imprisoning Daisu, but he also makes it clear that like you're not really out. Like I let you out for a reason, and I was letting you out into a bigger prison than you were already in. But he doesn't. We don't know why that is yet. And but it switches from he's on the search for his daughter with the sushi chef. He's like she's like helping him look for his daughter, and there's something where he kind of meets a dead end, like she is not in the country anymore or something, and he pretty much is just like, well, if she's not in the country anymore and she got adopted by somebody else, then I guess my new mission is just finding out who did this to me and seeking my revenge. And it really leads to some of the most, I think, probably one of the single best choreographed one take fight scenes in the history of filmmaking. Like
Yeah,
that the corridor scene where he is, and I mean I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but there's a corridor scene where he's fighting through all these henchmen to get to uh, kind of our main villain here. Uh, there's just this really, I wish I knew. I didn't look and see exactly how long of a scene it is, but there's this very long fight in a corridor with a hammer and all this, and it took. it took 3 days of shooting and 17 takes to get it right, but it is a true one take. So it's not like it was CGI stitched together to
Yeah.
make it look like a one take. And the only CGI in it, and I did notice this in the theater. I hadn't read that this was a fact, but you could just tell. But there's one thing about that scene that's CGI, and he gets stabbed in the back with a knife, and the knife sticking out of his back the whole time. And that knife sticking out of his back is very obviously CGI, like
Well, I couldn't really
2003
tell,
CGI.
but I was watching it
Yeah,
on a
well, I saw.
smaller screen.
That's the thing. I did get to see this in theaters again. I don't know uh, what AMC is doing, not re-releasing this movie, but yeah, seeing it in theaters, it makes a difference, and I could tell it's a little CGI knife because it's like not perfectly attached to his body movements and
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
But um, but yeah, that scene's just amazingly impressive, and a lot of our I really liked. I kind of forgot about him in retrospect from the first time I watched the movie, but the character who gets all of his teeth, a lot of his teeth removed,
Mhm.
that's working with our main villain, and it's kind of like a double cross situation because we think for a minute that he's working. Uh, Daisu removes a lot of this guy's teeth with a hammer in a pretty brutal scene, and when we see him again, he's got all fixed up like gold and silver teeth, and and he makes it seem like he's gonna kind of partner up with Daisu because he's angry that our main villain um, cut his hand off. And I'm not entirely sure why he got his hand cut off. Do you? Or do
Well,
do
yeah,
you have
it's
a?
because that guy comes to get revenge on Daisu, who is our main character, by he like ties up the girl Mido in her apartment, and this is like right after Daisu has met the main character, and he's gonna like pull out his teeth, and I guess Daisu says like after this. The main bad guy comes in and tells him like don't mess with him, and they all
Mm,
leave, and then Daisu says something about like I'll kill you or I'll take your hand, and then I think
okay.
the main villain cuts off his hand for him.
So yeah, for a minute there, we think he's partnered up with Daisu, and he's gonna help him with his vengeance, but it turns into like a double cross, and it's really not. Nobody's helping him. And yeah, I mean, I'm not to skip too far ahead, but the end of this is just some of the most harrowing. And I think the act. I mean, they ask a lot of the main actor
Mhm.
in this. Who I keep forgetting his name. It's like Choi Min Sik or something like that. Choi Min Sik, the main actor who plays Daisu in this. Um, they just really ask a lot of him, especially the end scene. Without getting directly into spoilers, is just some of the most like he's just at the end of his brain, just groveling and doing anything he can think of to right the situation. And then hypnotism plays a huge role in all this, and hypnotism plays a role in the end of the movie. And I know both of us are like a little iffy about ambiguous endings. Like it depends on how an ambiguous ending is, but I like this kind of ambiguous ending where the director intends for you to decide. You can land different ways with this, like how you
Yeah.
think it really ended. Uh, and I like that where you end up with an ending that just becomes a conversation piece, and you can kind of take your own theories away from it. It's not so ambiguous that it's like, well, we don't have any idea what happened. Like we've watched movies this year that you know um, that was kind of the thing that held us back a little bit. Is the ending is a little too ambiguous. Where like Biosphere, for example, was an ending where I'm like, man, I could have gone with a little more than that. Like that was a pretty abrupt, you know,
Yeah.
what on earth happens next kind of ending. And this does give you enough. But yeah, it certainly made me want to watch the other two of the series. So this is the middle one. The first one is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and the last one is Lady Vengeance. I believe it's just Lady Vengeance and not Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. But certainly makes me want to watch all of them. You were saying in your case, having watched the American one, it does spoil this for you and make you kind of appreciate it in a different kind of way. But
Mhm.
uh, but yeah, what else can we add about this movie? That was the main like trivia type things that I saw was just that corridor scene is no CGI, and also Choi Min Sik did do I don't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of his own stunt work here. And I thought like for for a movie with as many like real in camera fight choreography and everything, it looks like a lot of these punches connect. Like, I
Yeah.
wonder if people got. I thought I was gonna read some trivia about how like some of these punches actually landed and people got injured or something. I get there is one other thing. There's a scene where Daisu wakes up in uh, the sushi chef's apartment for the first time. And when he wakes up, I don't know if it's for the first time or the second time or something, but he wakes up and she's like reading through his journals, and he
Oh.
doesn't know if she's reading the part about all the terrible things he's done in his life, or just the part where he's kind of recounting his experience being in prison for so long, or what. Which that's what it turns out she was reading, is how he spent all this time training and everything. But he freaks out seeing her reading the journals, and has this like conniption about the journals, and he picks his head up too hard and bangs his head on a desk, and they just left it in the movie.
See, yeah,
So
when
it
I
kind of
was when I saw that, I was like, I bet that wasn't scripted, because like the bed on the floor. There's a table right behind it. He scoops it up and like kind of flings himself back over it and tries to lay down real quick and smacks the back of his head, and he just goes and like curls back up. And I was like, I feel
yeah,
like that
yeah,
probably that
yeah,
happened and they left it in.
yeah. That's real.
That was pretty funny.
So yeah, well, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about this, what is your score? What's your number?
I mean, it is a movie that like once you know the big reveal, it's not as impactful, like I said. So, but it is still a really good movie. Uh, so I probably still go with like an 8. It is a really good movie.
I'm super biased on this one. It's not really a fair score. I already kind of went into this is like one of my favorite movies ever.
Hmm.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10. And there's probably not that many true 10 out of 10s, but rewatching this just really solidified that for me. I don't have anything I would change about this. Um, so interesting that we've watched two. We just happened to have watched two of this director's works now, and man, two for
3.
two. Oh, did we watch three?
Yeah, it wasn't Fallen Angels.
No,
Oh, okay.
different guy.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I could see why you would, but yeah, different guy on that.
Okay.
This is just he did. Handmaiden was the other movie of his that we watched.
Yeah.
I would tell you the next movie we're gonna watch, but I think we're yet to be determined. Either gonna be it's either gonna be Problemista or Bottoms, depending on what is showing
Mhm.
near us. So I'm pretty stoked about both of those. So however it goes, I guess. But yeah, Bottoms or Problemista is the next movie we're gonna be covering. If you guys like this kind of thing, make sure to hit like below. If you've seen Oldboy, or if you just rewatched it for its anniversary, let us know what you think about this movie. And certainly, if you don't like this movie, I'd love to hear the take on somebody that didn't enjoy this movie as much as most people do. Um, but yeah, and subscribe below. We got a lot more viewers than we got subscribers, so we would love to have you if you haven't hit subscribe already. And yeah, share this with your friends if you think somebody else would like this. And we appreciate you watching as always, and we'll see you in the next one, guys.
We'll see you.